Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another edition of Brewer's Minute. So this week, got a pretty interesting question on the podcast, and someone asked, can I build 5-color control in Modern? And on level 1, the question is obviously yes. I mean, we have enough mana fixing in Modern, good enough mana fixing. If you want to run all 5 colors, you easily can. But that question got me thinking about colors and putting colors in decks, and how important our choices as far as colors are. In theory, you can play 5-color in any format. Your mana will be not as good, obviously, in Standard as in Modern or Legacy, but it is possible to do. So why don't we do that? And why does choosing colors and how we choose colors matters? And how do you choose how many colors you're going to have in your deck? So that's what we're going to be talking about this week for our Brewers Minute. A quick reminder before we break down the cards. If you enjoy Brewers Minute and the other series here on the channel, it would be amazing of you if you could take a quick second, click that subscribe button down in the corner of your screen. It's a great way to support the channel and the site for free. So, how do you choose what colors or how many colors are going to be going into your deck? And basically what you're doing when you put a color into your deck is you are trading consistency for power. So, here's what I mean. If you are, let's say, a mono green deck, your deck is going to be amazingly consistent. It's going to be super hard to get color screwed. It just almost can't happen because all your lands are going to be the right color, all your cards are going to be the same color as all your lands. On the other hand, mono green isn't necessarily good at everything, and your power level is going to be a bit lower than if you have another color. Not only do you not have answers to certain things, mono green is notoriously bad at removal, for example. Killing creatures, it's gotten better with fighting and stuff, but it's just not green's strong suit. So a lot of times, it's worth it to add another color to your deck because you get more power. So what happens when you go from mono green to, let's say, a green red deck is you are trading in a little bit of consistency because sometimes you're going to draw a whole bunch of green sources and not your red sources, or a whole bunch of red sources and not your green sources, but you are upping your power level. So in this trade-off, you are theoretically making your deck better even though you lose a percent of consistency because the percent of power your deck is gaining by adding in better removal, maybe some flyers, some different finishers or planeswalkers, outweighs the downside of consistency. Where things start to get a bit sketchy, though, is once you get up to 3 colors. Your consistency takes a much bigger hit at 3 colors than at 2 colors, and you'll see the problems with consistency really kind of spiral out of control once you get past 3 colors, especially. This is, of course, format dependent. When we had all the fetches in the Battle for Zendikar duels in Standard, you could kind of play whatever you wanted and your deck would still be relatively consistent. In our current Standard, though, once you get past 3 colors, you're really going to have to play cards to make up for those consistency problems. Servant of the Conduit, Prophetic Prism, but you can make do with 3 colors. There's enough good dual lands to make that work. But here again, you are trading in even more consistency for even more power because blue gives you access to things that either green or red don't give you access to. So you get more options, more power at the cost of even more consistency. So what does this look like in practice? Well, a good example in Standard is the energy deck. So energy and the good energy cards are primarily in green. It would be possible to build mono green energy. You get Long Tusk Cubs, Bristling Hydras, Servant of the Conduit, you have Electrostatic Pummeler, which is colorless, so you have a ton of options for a mono green energy deck. The problem is, if you went mono green energy, you wouldn't be able to really ever get blockers out of the way. You wouldn't be able to really interact with your opponent hardly at all. So instead of being mono green energy, most Standard players traded in the consistency of mono green for being green red. So you get access to Harness Lightnings and Shocks and maybe some Chandras and sideboard cards. These are effects that green just simply doesn't get. So you make your deck a bit less consistent, mana base wise, and even though the mana is pretty good in this 2-color deck, you will occasionally see a red-green energy player draw all red sources and not be able to cast their stuff on time, or not draw the second green mana for Bristling Hydra on turn 4. That does happen on occasion. That would never happen in mono green, but the trade-off is worth it because you get access to these removal spells. And this was kind of the initial build of energy, green-red energy, but standard players took it a step further and realized that the best build of green-red energy is actually 3 colors, because adding blue to the deck gives you access to a few key options, like negate, for example. So with blue added to the deck, not only do you have these powerful energy creatures and red removal to help force them through, but you also get negates and dispels to protect your combo. So again, you take another hit in consistency by adding blue lands, fast lands that are going to come into play tap. Sometimes your consistency drops another notch, but it's worth this trade-off because you get access to powerful options that aren't found in either of those other colors. So the sum of all this is, the less colors you can have in your deck, the more consistent your deck will be. So when you're deciding, should I add a color, you have to really think about how much power am I gaining, or also what problems am I fixing? And you can look at it from that perspective and make an argument that most of the additions of colors to a mono green energy deck are to solve problems. Red gives you removal, which is something green doesn't have. It's necessary for most successful decks. Blue gives you access to counters, something red or green doesn't have. Also something that works really well with the deck. So you're solving certain problems by adding colors at the cost of your consistency. So that's the question you got to ask yourself. And in some cases, it's worthwhile, actually a lot of cases, it's worthwhile to add a color to up your power level at the cost of consistency. But once you get to 4 colors and 5 colors, your lack of consistency becomes more and more apparent, and the amount of power you're gaining becomes less and less. When it comes right down to it, there's no right or wrong answer, but the less colors you have, the less mana screwed you get, the more consistent you'll be. So if you do decide to go up to 3 colors and 4 colors and 5 colors, make sure you have a reason for doing that, and make sure the reason is a good one. Anyway, that's been our Brewers Minute for this week. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon.